Hey, so we're back. We're doing another deck tech, this time for a very special, very near and dear to my heart commander, Kibo, Uktabi Prince. Kibo is a monkey, noble, to be clear, legendary creature, of course, that costs 2 and a green. It's a 2/2 creature. Its effect reads tap. Each player creates a colorless artifact token named Banana. With tap, sacrifice this artifact, add red or green. You gain 2 life. Second part of the effect says, whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control that's an ape or a monkey. Third effect reads, when Kibo attacks, defending player sacrifices an artifact. Now that's all well and good. Decent card, I must say. But it's not about Kibo. This deck is tricky. Kibo is a sort of distraction, a red herring, if you will. What this deck really does, let's see if you can figure it out. Scrolling. What do we see here? Wait. Where are the lands? Did I forget to put lands in this deck? No. There are no lands. There are only modal double-faced cards on the backs of which are lands pictured here. And of course, mana dorks. Fair amount of mana dorks. Because, I don't know if you've guessed it or not, this is an iteration of a modern phenomenon, if I could be so bold as to call it that. This is a Goblin Charbelcher deck. Let's see, where is it? There it is. For some time, about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, I was trying to take modern decks and make them into commander decks, and it was just a lot of fun, successful or not. I really like the interesting, creative, clever decks that come from modern. Lantern of Insight's another good example. If that is modern, tell me if I'm wrong. But the Charbelcher deck that I discovered in my research was intriguing. I personally love tricky, didn't see that coming, which I guess is tricky, combo, clever decks. Anyway, Charbelcher feels like that. I mean, it's very straightforward, of course. Let's read the card and you'll get it. Goblin Charbelcher is an artifact that costs 4 to play. Its effect reads, pay 3 and tap Charbelcher. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land card. Nope. Goblin Charbelcher deals damage equal to the number of cards revealed this way to target creature or player. If the revealed land card was a mountain, Goblin Charbelcher deals double that damage instead. Put the revealed cards on the bottom of your library in any order. Lot to unpack there. At first read, it might seem like Charbelcher wants you to have a mono red deck, because if you reveal a mountain, it deals double damage. It's better, especially in Commander, when your decks are 99 cards, potentially like 80, 85 when you get to Charbelcher, if you're playing it right, I guess. You don't want to double 20 damage or 10. You want to deal 80 damage by not revealing any lands whatsoever. When you get to the bottom of the deck and not a single land has been revealed, it deals 1 damage for each card revealed. As I said, about 80 maybe, somewhere around there. That's player removal. That's 1 player out right away. Unless, I don't know, if they have a counter-activated ability effect, which they probably don't, so there's that. It also has this fancy second bonus, Charbelcher does. It says, put the revealed cards on the bottom of your library in any order. If you reveal your whole deck, you can rearrange your library however you want after that. So really, once you hit Charbelcher, and you trigger it, you can just rearrange your whole deck and then put what you need on top and hopefully deal with opponents from there. This isn't like a you hit it and you win sort of situation, but it does get the ball rolling pretty swiftly, I would say, when you fire off your first Charbelch. I'm going to use that as a verb, Charbelch. So let's take a look at the deck. I don't think I need to go too deep into the modal double-faced cards. I think you pretty much get the idea. I think it's great that we're using only these because they have a lot of utility. Often, obviously, you want these cards to drop as lands, but some of the other sides of these cards are pretty good as well. Let's see, I organized these cards by price. So down here, most expensive cards, and then we go to the top, least expensive. So like Akuma Warrior, 4/5 trample, probably never going to play it like that, right? Let's see what else we got. Tangled Florahedron, mana dork, but probably better as a land. Disciple of Freyalise, this is actually pretty decent. I mean, it costs 6, 3, and 3 green, so there's that. That's expensive for this deck. It's a 3/3 elf druid creature that reads, when it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is that creature's power. Sure. If you need cards in hand, you could sacrifice a Akuma Warrior. Draw 4 cards, gain 4 life, right? Maybe that's the only use of Akuma Warrior in this deck. There are a few others. You get the idea. We have, even though we have included all these modal double face cards, we don't really have many lands. Any sources of mana aside from them, the mana dorks, and really the artifact package. I think we'll take a look at the artifacts next. Let's just make sure we didn't miss anything in the creatures here. All right, so land, artifact discount, land, death touch, or I should say mana, and it's hexproof, so it's likely to stay around. Shimmer Mirrors here, it allows you to cast artifact spells as though they had flash, which, you cast this and then you follow up with Charbelch on your opponent's end step, and then it gets to you. Activate Charbelch. It doesn't have to sit around for any amount of time, before you can activate it. It's not as much at risk, I suppose, with it being able to be cast at flash speed. Soulbright Flamekin. This creature's effect is similar to a few other artifacts, spells that you'll see in a minute. It's essentially using your mana to make more mana. This card's really fun, very narrow, I would say, usage. It feels like it fits well in this deck, but maybe not many others. Probably wrong, though. It's always good to have more mana. So it's a 2/1 creature, an elemental shaman that costs 1 and a red. Its effect reads, pay 2 of any color. Target creature gains trample until end of turn. That part doesn't matter. If this is the third time this ability has resolved this turn, you may add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 red to your mana pool. So you pay 6 to make 8. That gets you to Charbelch playing and activating in 1 turn. That altogether costs 7 mana, 4 to play Charbelch, 3 to activate it. It's usually best to drop the Belcher when you have 7 mana, so you don't have to, again, leave it vulnerable and open around a turn cycle. This deck itself is like super narrow, so if someone screws with your Charbelch, you're kind of screwed. We have some ways to bring it back, some ways to protect it, some ways to duplicate it. We'll get to that in a minute, but you really want to just keep it safe by any means possible, any means necessary. Diamond Lion is kind of like it was an echo of Lion's Eye Diamond. So we keep it in there for that nostalgia, but also it is like a sort of Black Lotus, I guess, but not as good. 2/2 creature for 2, artifact creature cat, tap it, discard your hand, sacrifice Diamond Lion, add 3 mana of any 1 color, activate only as an instant. So, sorry, if you want to activate it at sorcery speed, you can't. this gets us to 7 mana, if you couldn't guess. So you can drop Belch, activate it 1 turn. Scrap Welder is a way to get Charbelcher back from the graveyard to the battlefield. We have a lot of artifacts, so it's going to be very likely that you will be able to swap 1 for Charbelcher if needed. Slow Bad. Sacrifice an artifact. Target artifact gains indestructible until end of turn. Geez, sorry. So this, obviously, I don't even have to say it, but it protects Charbelch. We got a lot of goblins. I love the Goblin Artificer angle. Here's another one. Slow Bad. Iron Goblin. 3/3 legendary creature, Phyrexian Goblin Artificer for 2 and a red. Tap it, sacrifice an artifact. Add an amount of red equal to the sacrificed artifact's mana value. Spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. So you're sacrificing your less important artifacts to power the Belch. Glowing is an interesting one. Whenever you cast a historic spell, create a treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Tap, sacrifice a treasure, goad target creature. A little bit more utility other than just helping us get to I want to call it a combo, but it's not, the win con. Goading is always really fun too, especially if you're playing a game with your friends and not strangers. Some more politicking in there that you can get into. Just makes the game a little bit more fun. I think Glowing's a solid include. If you're casting artifacts at instant speed as well with Shimmermer, this can see your treasures add up pretty quickly. So we got some mana dorks. Llanowar Elves, Ornithopter of Paradise, Devoted Druid, Elvish Mystic, Findhorn Elves, Simian Spirit Guide is a great one. Also a modern staple, I believe. Let's see. Prosperous Innkeeper just potentially helps you get to that 7th mana via the treasure it creates when you play it. Bonus upside is that it gains you 1 life whenever another creature that you control enters the battlefield. Birds of Paradise. Obviously another mana dork. We don't really have stacks here. There could be some more stacks inclusion in the build of the deck, but Manglehorn I think is a pretty good all-around green card to include. When it ETBs, you may destroy target artifact. Artifacts your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Slows them down. Simple as that. Buys you some more time to get to the Belch. Myr Welder is it Myr? Myr makes more sense because they're small and slight. Myr Welder, essentially at the cost of exiling Charbelch from your graveyard, can turn itself into a Charbelcher. So really like a last resort card, but if you're at this point and it comes in clutch and you win, that's a good game. I'm happy for you. Goblin Welder. What is this card art? I can't even read it. I don't know why it's just defaulting to this. I don't even know what it does. Choose target artifact a player controls and target artifact in that player's graveyard. So essentially what it lets you do is trade one of your artifacts for Charbelcher out of the graveyard. And Ragavan. So if we want to reduce the price of this deck, which is currently $350, that is very steep. I acknowledge that. We can easily cut Ragavan and a couple other cards we're going to look at in a few minutes. This deck was originally built to be a Ragavan deck. It was mono red, and the idea was you would probably have to mulligan a few times, get a hand with 1 land, 1 modal double face card in it, or even a Simian Spirit Guide, really play by the seat of your pants and play Ragavan. Get that early hit in, get that treasure token, maybe get a land off the opponent's top deck. It almost never worked. When it did work, it was amazing. Most of the time, though, it was wait to draw something to play the game. And then all of a sudden you can play the game. So that didn't really last. That didn't fare well in my play group. So I added green, and here we are. We still got the monkey, Kibo. We just needed to add some more mana ramp. So if you want to reduce the cost of this deck, you could totally cut Ragavan and put maybe more wheels in. Anything that helps you draw more cards, see more cards, find your way to Charbelch. Now, we are at the sorceries. Let's see, I'm just going to do a quick overview of it. So essentially what we have are wheels, or discard cards, draw cards like Cathartic Reunion, Faithless Looting, Wild Guess, Seize the Spoils, Unexpected Windfall, great card in this deck. Thrill of Possibility right there. Fateful Showdown does the same thing, but also deals damage to target creature or player. Well, Iron Crag, Feat, and Mana Geyser are ways to get to that 7 mana early. Flare of Cultivation is a creature tutor. Wait, that card shouldn't be in here. It's not a creature tutor. Strike that. We're going to cut that one out. Instead of Flare of Cultivation, you could put in Shared Summons. You could put in Imperial Recruiter. Great tutor. When it ETBs, search for your library for a creature card with power 2 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. That should take the place of Flare of Cultivation. My mistake. I'll fix that in the deck list. Strike It Rich helps you just amass more treasures if you're not drawing any mana sources. Regrowth, now that we have green in the mix, there are more options, more ways to bring back Charbelcher from the graveyard. And then, of course, Blasphemous Act, a little bit of board control. Really, Gamble is the star of the show. You know, we don't have any tutors otherwise for Charbelcher. If there are any that I'm missing, let me know. I would love to know what to include there. But Gamble essentially just lets you search your deck for it, put it into your hand, and then there's a chance that you might discard it. So, but for 1 red, I mean, the odds are in your favor. Okay. So, not too much else going on here of note. I'll just do a quick overview of a couple things. Heroic Intervention keeps Charbelch around in case someone tries to remove it. Valakut Awakening's another sort of wheel card. Tybalt's Trickery is a counterspell, essentially with more steps. So is Red Elemental Blast. Let's see. Krosan Grip. Love this card because it has split second. Chaos Warp deals with most things, including lands. If someone's got something crazy out there, you can just make them put something less crazy on the battlefield, hopefully. Autumn's Veil stops somebody from countering your Charbelch, which would be great. It's a real Gut'em moment. Reclaim brings it back, Charbelcher. Let's see, Naturalize and Return to Nature, just very good cards in general for some spot removal. Let's see. Fury Charm is nice because of the Destroy Artifact function, but also because in a very unlikely scenario, you could use Fury Charm to remove 2 time counters from Lotus Bloom. Yeah, so you could get your 3 mana off Lotus Bloom faster. That will probably never happen, but it's nice to have. Display of Dominance is a nice little tech card, I suppose. I just love the art on the card. I say that once per deck tech, I think. I've always wanted to use this, and in lieu of better cards, like more expensive artifacts probably, I slotted this in. I have a couple of them. I'll try it out. I think it's good. Destroy target blue or black non-creature permanent, or permanents you control can't be the targets of blue or black spells your opponents control this turn. Seems pretty nice. I always love a card with a choice on it. It's an instant as well for 1 and a green, so you can't really beat that. I mean, you can, but... Okay, so the artifacts are the other sort of main focus of this deck. We have a lot of artifact interaction in the other areas of the deck, so let's look at what we're working with here. Mana Maker, etc. You get the idea. A lot of mana rocks in here. Stone of Eric, a little bit of stacks, suppose. Liquid metal coating is a nice bit of tech because you have so many goblins that care about artifacts. When you can make something an artifact and the goblins suddenly can work with it, you have a lot more versatility on the battlefield. You have many more options at your disposal. Of course, the Holy Grail here. Inspiring Sanctuary is really nice. It's an artifact that costs 3 of any color that says non-artifact spells you cast have improvise, which means your artifacts can help you cast those spells. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1 of any color. 1 colorless, I guess. So that's a good way to keep your treasures around. You can just tap the treasures without sacrificing them. And other artifacts, of course, that you have as well. You have a lot of them here, I would say. You can tap Sculpting Steel. You can tap Liquid Metal Coating for mana if you're casting another artifact. So helps you get to that 7 mana for Charbelcher a little bit faster. Trading Post, I love cards with options. This card has 4 options. It can help you gain life. It can give you a goat. You never know when you might need that. You can swap a creature for an artifact from your graveyard to your hand. So you can make a goat next turn, or opponent's next turn if you have Unwinding Clock, get your Charbelch back and then activate it. Or you can sack an artifact to draw a card, which is always good. Trading Post, very, very good card in this deck. A lot of options. A little slow, but if you're going mid-late game, excellent card. What else? Sculpting Steel comes in as another Charbelch, or anything else to help you, win the game, of course. But 2 Charbelchers. 2 Charbelchers are better than 1. Mirage Mirror, 3 Charbelchers are better than 1. What else we got? Semblance Anvil. Yeah, artifact discount. Liquid Metal Torque taps for mana, also makes another non-land permanent into an artifact. Really great card in this deck. I would say specifically. I'm sure it's good in other artifact-centric decks, but like when I found this card, I was like, yep, that's going in and it's not coming out. Thran Turbine, interesting little bit of tech as well. Costs 1, it's an artifact. Reads, during your upkeep, you may add up to 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. This mana cannot be spent to play spells, but it can be used to activate abilities. So, as you know, the turn cycle goes untap, upkeep, draw. Main phase 1, combat, main phase 2, end step. So, untap all your mana. Let's say you have just enough to flash in Charbelch, but not enough to activate it. Now you have enough to activate it. If that makes sense. Let's say you need 7 mana, you have 5, you flash in Charbelch. For 4, you have 1 mana remaining that you can tap, and then only during this small window, during your upkeep phase, you now have enough to activate Charbelch. I've seen this included in decks that play those 0-cost spells like Force of Negation, I think, right? This is great because I think you can activate Charbelcher before you have to pay or lose the game or something like that. I think that's more in like a modern setting, but this could be used to activate a bunch of different abilities on your creatures and other artifacts as well. So I think it's great. Costs 1 to play it. Can potentially also tap for mana if you have Inspiring Sanctuary out. So, and of course it can be swapped for a million things with all of our Goblin Welder-esque effects for 1 mana. Let's see, red discount. If I had the green version, I would put that in here as well, probably. Lithoform Engine allows you to copy your Charbelcher effect. That way you can take out 2 players instead of just 1. Then we have some 0-cost mana makers with Suspend. It's just good, We don't have a lot of lands. I think it's self-explanatory, Lotus Petal. If we're thinking about cards to cut, though, to reduce the cost of this deck, Mox Amber, cut that. I have that in paper. I bought it when it was like $20. It's gone up a bit. Cut that. We're down to $300. Cut Scroll Rack. We're down to $280. We're down to $260. You know, you could keep cutting. You see where I'm going. With the Sylvan Library, got this from the Green Commander Precon. I forget what it was. You don't need it. You can cut it. This is just, these are like helping you filter to your win con. So they're useful, don't get me wrong, but there are other cards that do this for less money. All right. Unwinding Clock. Can't skip that. Important card. Untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. Yes, I will do that. Thank you. You could also add Seedborn Muse. In fact, I probably had that in an earlier build of this deck. That untaps all permanents, non-land permanents you control. I think that's actually an important include, so if you can add Seedborn Muse, you should. In fact, let's just do this. We're going to take out Flare of Cultivation and put in... Does that work? Is that a card? Yeah. All right. There it is. $12, talking about reducing the price. Yeah, I mean, this allows you to take out each player before they can really do anything, I think. I guess they untap, you untap, they have priority, but if they have nothing to do, goodbye. Goblin Cannon, go kaboom. Yeah, alright, so enchantments, not many of those. Vessel of Volatility is another Iron Crag Feat effect. It's another Soul Bright Flamekin, I think is what it's called. Just pay some mana to make more mana. Festival of Embers seems to be a poor person's Underworld Breach. During your turn, you may cast instant and sorcery spells from your graveyard by paying 1 life in addition to their other costs. If a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead, and then pay 1 in red. You have permission to sacrifice Festival of Embers. So this just gives you a little bit more utility, helps you use your graveyard as a resource if needed. Fires of Invention, yeah, is just another one of those cards that helps you make the most of your mana. Might not really be great in this deck. You may cast spells with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control without paying their mana costs. We don't have a lot of lands in this deck. This might be a cut. I haven't played it yet. I just put it in there. It seems good when it comes to like dropping maybe 2 4-cost artifacts when you only have 4 mana instead of just 1. I'll test it and maybe I'll take it out. The link to this deck in the description below the video is something I will keep updating as I play. So this video will kind of fall out of relevance, I suppose, once I take one card out and put another one in, but you can always just check the deck list in the description. Yeah, then Sylvan Library. Want to save some money? Take that card out. Put in that Sorcery that's essentially Thrill of Possibility. I forget what it's called. It's got a dragon going like this on it. Okay, well, that is a deck I'm referring to affectionately as Monkey Belcher. Whoops, Duretti. So Duretti does artifact stuff. You can pause it, you can read it. Essentially what we want it for is, well, everything it does. Discard 2 cards and draw that many. Excellent. Sacrifice an artifact, so it's Goblin Welder, essentially. If you do, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Also good. I never read Planeswalker's Ultimates unless I'm doing something with Proliferate, because I will likely never get there, but I'm sure it's good. Just have to take my word for it. So, okay, that is Monkey Belcher. Kibo Uktabi Prince meets Goblin Charbelcher. I said it right that time. It's one of my favorite weird, silly, didn't see that coming decks. I play these decks to have fun. Of course I like to win. Of course I do. But It's, what did my soccer coach used to say? It's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. So let that sit with you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.